Hi, welcome to Goats Gardens and Healthy Tips. It's August 29th today. It's sunny, it's warm, and I am doing some work in the garden. I'm picking some tomatoes, cleaning some things up, and I thought, hey, I think I'm going to do a garden review and kind of go through what was good this year and what wasn't so good. So I'm going to start in this garden, then we'll go check out the other garden. Got my handy dandy gloves on, if you notice that, because I get all itchy when I'm picking the tomatoes otherwise. So we may as well start with the tomatoes. So the tomatoes this year really struggled. We had so much heavy rain and it just was like continuous inches and stuff. So, and then it was humid and hot, and we got a lot of blight. And as you can tell, still suffering from that. I really worked hard. I really didn't think that tomato plants were going to make it. And then we had winds, a couple of storms where these plants literally bent over, like, you know, from here bent over where I didn't have them tied up at the top up here, and then we had really strong winds, and so I ended up cutting a lot down. I just didn't think anything was going to develop. It was just kind of a distressing tomato start, but I am happy to say that they've really made a comeback. And so what I did was I started spraying them with neem oil for one thing, and then I kind of went to calcium and a copper. And I did that weekly for about 3 weeks in a row, and then cut off the dead stuff, and it really brought them back to life. So I have had quite a bit of tomatoes. I've made salsa, I've made just canned tomatoes, and I'm freeze drying little tiny tomatoes. So all in all, and you know, besides sharing and such, I have to say that the tomatoes have been a success, even though. So the Romas have done really well. And the little cherry tomatoes have really done well. And some of these bigger ones seem to be the ones that were hit with the blight pretty bad. But as you can tell, we've got a lot of nice ones on here I'm going to pick today. And we'll be doing some more canning with those. So I have to say, for how hard it started out and how bad they looked in July, and it wasn't just me, it was a lot of people around here commenting about the same thing with the tomatoes, that we're doing pretty good. So good for that on the tomatoes. I have the other little area, my little, you know, overgrow area that I have up by the house, and that has the tomatoes in the grow bags and pots, and those are mostly Romas and some cherries. Those have done really well. They also got hit really hard with the blight, but I cannot believe how much they produce, even though in those little pots. So been very pleased with that. And then we've got some celery in here. Now the celery kind of did a weird thing during that time too, where a lot of the stalks were hollow. They were just hollow on the inside. And so this one is hollow. I can feel that. Yep, as you can see that. So what I did was I just cut those off, and then it seemed like when we got, and I did spray these with the calcium and copper too. It seemed like when we got past that stage that was just so wet and rainy and cloudy and icky that they started growing better. So I have some more of those in the other garden, but have been getting celery from those that we've been using for continuously. All right, so that's kind of what's down this aisle. Okay, then over on this side I had the beets, and the beets were really kind of sad this year. I just love my beets, and it was so disappointing, but there again, it was just that rain. It was just continuous, and I just think they were too wet, too soggy for too long. And so a third, I would say, maybe even a half of the beets did not develop any roots. And that was very disappointing. Now, the ones that I planted in the raised bed that I had started in the greenhouse in little clusters, those turned out really nice. Those were earlier start and an earlier plant. These ones that I planted from seed, they kind of got hit by the heavy rains, and so that wasn't so good. Same as the turnips over here and the rutabaga. Same thing happened. I have a few rutabaga that's left in here that I haven't taken out yet that I need to take out, but same thing happened with these. Are split, they really need to get out. But anyways, the same thing happened with those, and I'll just freeze these up, so that'll be okay. The peppers was another weird thing. Now there's a lot of peppers on these plants. These are all hot peppers, chili peppers, all that kind of stuff, and I think these are cayenne. I planted some of those because I want to freeze dry them and then chop them up for my chickens to help keep them away from parasites and stuff this winter. So that's kind of was my plan on all of that. But same thing, like the tomato plants, grew and had tons of flowers, and everything just became stagnant for a while. We also had overcast skies. We had the smoke from the Canadian fires that went on, I'm going to say most of summer until just a couple weeks ago. And everything just looked kind of sick for a long time. So now there are peppers in here that I need to come and take care of, but that was really a slow grow on the peppers. See this plant? Beautiful plant, does not even have any peppers. And I probably needed to fertilize that differently too, but just didn't have time to dig into that. So there's a few bananas on here, a few banana peppers. So I'll get those off too. Anyways, oh well, you know, not a great pepper year. These are my kidney beans and black beans, and they're drying up. They're doing fine. You know, those are pretty easy grow. One thing that has really helped is once the plants get pretty large and established, I put these green stakes in, and then we run some just garden twine, like 2 rows of garden twine, and I pull them up so that they're not laying on the ground. And that was definitely necessary this year when we had so much wet rain. And then right here, I just had a little bit of empty space, so I stuck in some more bush green beans because I was kind of afraid of what was going to happen with my pole beans. I'll tell you about that when I get over there. And I stuck in another half a row of carrots here too. So I dug up some of those that we've been using, and now it's kind of getting time where I need to dig up more, but I kind of like to do it a little bit slower so I can use the greens for the chickens and the rabbits. They just love those carrot greens, the rabbits especially. So I've just been digging up as we use, but now I'm going to dig some up this weekend to freeze. And they are really pretty colored. I got multiple colored carrots this year, and so they are really pretty. Oh my goodness, I'm seeing something over here. There's a huge zucchini down here that I missed, so I got to get that guy out. So that brings us to the zucchini, which was another weird thing this year with the zucchini. Normally you got zucchini coming out of your ears, and this year the zucchini had tons of flowers and just wasn't doing anything. And the leaves were kind of weird looking as well. That same kind of burnt, scorched looking when our air quality was so bad. And so I would cut off all the bad leaves and everything, but they just had a lot of flowers and weren't producing. And then I realized that they were producing all male flowers. And this guy has been struggling, oh gosh, from the very beginning. And you can see these little flowers with the long stems are all male again. Once I finally realized that, which wasn't until a little while ago, I started clipping off extra male flowers, and then I actually started getting some zucchini from this plant. So I had 3 zucchini plants, and this is the only one that's been producing. But I got enough to use because, see, this one is dying. Because these guys did so great. So the yellow summer, there's a nice couple big ones right there that I need to get. They did great this summer. They produced like crazy. What I do is I slice them and then like into little triangles or whatever, and then I freeze dry them. And the one time I freeze dried, I didn't get them dry enough, and then they molded in the jar. So I freeze dry them into little wafers, and then I put them in a bag and I put them in the freezer. And that way I can pull them out and use them for stir fries and hot dishes, and they're just really in a nice consistency and a nice size for doing that. So 3 of these yellow summer squashes have been producing like crazy. So that's been really good. The other one that I planted was the green scallops, and in the past couple years, 2 years, the green scallops have not turned out and the plants have died early. Oh my goodness, there's another. I just haven't been in here for 2 days, and look at these guys. And this year I had wonderful green scallops, better than I've had probably any year, which was so surprising. I'm going to see if there's some more yellow ones over there. Okay, so here's a couple right here. Yep, so there's some right there, and they have been going just great. So been using those, freezing those, just cutting them up, freezing them, sharing them. Those have been really good. I love the flavor of those for steaming or freeze drying. So that's the green scallops. There's the basil back in the back there. It looks like it's getting some flowers I got to pinch off. Okay, so that is that garden, and now we'll go over and check out what's going on in the other garden. All right, so here is the other garden, and this one's been doing pretty well too. Some things good, some things not so good, but one thing that was good was my lettuce, and that was in one of my new raised beds this year. I've had really poor lettuce results in past years, leafy lettuce. So this year I wanted to try it in the raised bed, and it just worked out so much better. It just didn't get all the ground splash up and everything from the rain like it does here. I don't know, it just worked out better. So I planted the lettuce in succession, and so probably, I don't know, every couple weeks or something I would plant some more. And so I used that lettuce all summer for the rabbits, which I give them 2 salads a day, for us, for the bunnies. And I just pulled out the last of them yesterday, except for these new ones that I planted probably a week and a half ago or something. And I also did plant some over here, which there's some little sprouts coming in. I don't know if we'll have time for that or not, but I wish I would have had another batch going a little bit sooner. But so I gotta say that was a great success. And then over here was my beets that I already harvested early in the year, and I decided to try growing another batch of beets. So I also had these green onions. I don't know why I left those 2 in there, but I think they're just kind of pretty, so I've just been kind of letting them in there yet. But so I tried these. This is a second batch, and we'll see if they work. I'm really hoping they do, because the first batch in here worked really good, so we'll see. And then when my zucchini was having a hard time, I just decided, oh gosh, this hasn't been very long either. Probably a week ago I put a new zucchini plant in here, and we'll see if that has time to do anything or not. These are those Jerusalem artichokes, and they are, I don't even know how tall they are. They've got to be like 12 feet tall. They are so tall. They look beautiful, and I sure hope there's something underneath them. So we'll find out about that when we dig them up. The sweet potatoes, I had showed on my other video, really slow getting started, and then they perked up. And so, you know, once our weather got a little bit better. So I hope they turn out too. Love sweet potatoes. And then these ground cherries, this is my first time growing them, and they were fabulous. I come out and pick them every couple days. And so, you know, they drop to the ground. Let's see if I can find one in here. They drop to the ground right there in those little pods. And then you just take the little pods. Oh, here's another good one right here. A bunch of them right there. A bunch of them. So they drop to the ground. And you just take these little pods and you open them up. And then you've got your nice little ground cherry inside. Those have been going over really well just to eat. And also I am now freezing them because I'm going to do something with them, whether I make jam or I'm not sure. You know, I'm going to look. I made some of my muffins with my muffin recipe and put them in there with some blueberries, and that went over really good. So we'll use them for sure, but those have gone really good. They just keep producing. And so what I do is I come in and I shake the plant when I come in here to pick, because they kind of fall like rain. And then, you know, then you can pick them. So that's my ground cherries. Very nice. Okay, I planted this asparagus this year. I ordered some roots and I got those to go on. Here's a nice asparagus right there. And we didn't use the asparagus this year, but next year we'll be able to. And I put a couple of dill in here as well. They did really well. I'm saving some of the seeds, and I ended up freeze drying the dill because the dill was kind of done before I was getting, my cucumbers were not really well this year. So the dill was kind of done before the cukes. So I put them in the freeze dryer and I freeze dried the dill. So that worked out good. Little woofers are in here. Don't always let them in here because they get kind of dirty, but Arthur, come here, buddy. A little piece of asparagus. He doesn't have many teeth. He's got 2 teeth, so I don't know if he can eat that. Come here, Snowball. Snow, come here. My daughter's dog is over here. Come here, Snow. Come here. Come on. Riley, you want a little piece of Riley? Loves asparagus. Come on, Maxaru. There you go, buddy. Here, Snow, you gonna try some? I don't think she'll eat it, but we'll try it. There we go. There you go, kids. Okay. This bald spot here, this was potatoes, and the potatoes were fabulous. I am so excited about those. So Bob helped me dig those up, and got a lot of potatoes. So they're up in the potatoes are up in the loft of our garage drying. Really excited about those. The broccoli was good. I didn't plant a lot of broccoli. I don't eat it because it kind of bothers my thyroid, but Bob eats it, and so you know I didn't plant that many plants, so we got the one head per plant. But then what ends up happening is you get this all summer long. So you just keep snipping off these little guys and using those. And so it, for this was plenty, and it worked out really good. And then these are the collard greens. They were wonderful. I froze a ton of them. Fabulous. They're getting kind of nasty now. The grasshoppers are getting after them and stuff. So basically now I'm just cutting what we need, and then I've already preserved quite a few of them, cutting what we need, and then letting the chickens have those too. Same with the chard. That was wonderful, absolutely wonderful chard, but now there again, it's getting a lot of insect stuff on it. So same thing as with the collards on that. All right, brings me to the carrots. So this will be fun. Going to do some of this weekend, dig up some carrots and see how great they are. It's always fun to see that. Let the bunnies have some of those carrot greens. And then I did plant a few more bush beans here, and some basil. There's parsley over here, which I've been freezing and freeze drying. The celery is along the back, and we've been using that. And then I had some extra ground cherry bushes, and I put them down in here early in the year, right when I planted, not even thinking that these green beans would take off like they did, because I've had poor pole beans the last 2 years. So obviously they didn't get very much sun, but they still produce. There's still ground cherries that are dropping, just not like the other ones. But anyways, that was kind of silly. Okay. These are my pole beans, and this was a very surprising thing, because I've had such a hard time with them the last 2 years because of the Asian beetles. And last year they didn't come up really good last year. We had smoke again last summer too, and so it does really damage the plants. It's more than what you would imagine. So anyways, but this year these guys did really good. I got to come out and pick these today yet. Lots of green beans, looking really good. It's kind of fun to pick them when they're on the pole. And I was actually, if this pole bean stuff didn't work this year, I was just going to go back to all bush beans, because the last 2 years have been so disappointing. But these are pretty good, and it's actually kind of fun to come in here and you can pick them as they're hanging through on the hoop here. So that's kind of fun. So anyways, green beans, very much been a success. I've been freezing those, blanching and freezing those, and obviously we're eating them. Okay, on the end, on this, here's my celery. And on the end over here, on this end of this fence, I planted a pole bean that is a dry bean, Mayflower. That was not a good idea. Just thought, hey, I'll put them against this fence here, but they just crowded out. And some of them have come over and mixed with these, so I'm trying to see which ones are the flat ones and the round ones before I pick them. And they just kind of got too much entwined with the cucumbers, and it just really wasn't a good idea. So not going to do that next year. All right, and then I have some oregano over here. I had 2 types of oregano. That has gone well, and I've been freeze drying that. I like to give that to the chickens too as a parasite preventative. And I'm going to try to winter that over if I can keep the greenhouse, if we don't have a horrible, horrible winter this year, if I can keep that in the greenhouse. And then this area, it's different every year. This area is cucumbers on this one, squash and pumpkin. And I think I'm going to put the cucumbers somewhere else next year, because they really got crowded out by the squash. And actually it's kind of that, look at these bugs on my pumpkin. That is just driving me crazy. Get out of there. Okay. They got crowded out by the other plants. The pumpkin kind of took over this year. The pumpkin is wonderful, and that's okay because I love pumpkin. We cook it and eat it. I put it in the dog food. You know, the chickens, I give them some, and it's so healthy and nutritious and everything. So I'm okay with that because I got about 20 really nice little sugar pumpkins here. So I will cook that up and freeze that in containers, and I make my muffins out of that too. So anyways, that's okay, but I have picked some squash, but didn't get a whole ton of squash. Here's one right here, but that's all right. And the cucumbers, all right, so the cucumbers were struggling when I planted them. The plants were so healthy when I put them in here. And then, you know, like I said, we had all this rain and all that. See, here's another squash that fell on the ground. And the stem fell right off from it. So that's kind of what's been happening. And I don't know, I just think that it was just not, it's not rainy now, but it was really rainy this summer. Probably just a little bit too much. So anyways, there's a few cucumbers in here. I made some pickles, and you know, we've been using them, sharing them. So the cucumbers have been okay, just not like they were last year. I had so many last year. So I think I might just trellis them somewhere else next summer and allow the squash to have both of these trellises. So anyways, that's that. All right, I'm just gonna walk down this pumpkin aisle so you can see more of these pumpkins. They're so pretty, and they are so good and so nutritious. There's a lot of them down here. So that is the pumpkin. I'll grab this guy and I'll just cut this guy up and either use it or freeze it. All right, come on, doggies. Everybody's getting in trouble in here. I don't let them in here all the time. Come on, Snow. Snowball. Come on, girl. Come on. Here is that overgrowth area. And so, like I said, for as bad as things started out with the weather, with the blight, with the funguses and all that, they really produced a lot and they're doing really well. So I'm happy about that. I had a few more over here too. I think I might put these in grow bags next year and see how that works versus the pots. Flowers all did so good this year, looking really pretty. All right, so here is our fruit stuff that we planted, our fruit trees, our fruit bushes, and all of the fruit trees took. I'm just really happy about that. This quince tree really had a hard time with the Japanese. They're not Japanese, they're Asian beetles, the Asian beetles. I did end up putting like a little net over it, tied it up kind of next to it, and just while the Asian beetles were so bad. The other thing that I did, and I did with the green beans, is I sprayed that kyolic clay on them. Sprayed that on the apple trees too. All right, so these were our honeyberry and blueberry bushes. They all took off really nicely. We got about 2 handfuls of blueberries this year, and I'm excited to see those progress next year. And then we just put this mulch around it now, and then Bob is gonna create some cages to put over them to keep them from the animals. So that'll be good. And then the elderberry bushes, they took off really nice. So there will be a future of elderberry here. Okay, so we had, I had shown on the last video how we bagged a lot of the apples. We're gonna pick some apples this weekend, so I'll be able to tell, but you can see that these actually look pretty nice right here. Now here's one that doesn't look so nice. And so we'll just see if that made a difference or not. I'll probably be able to evaluate. I did spray that kyolic spray on the apple trees, but I only did it a couple of times. I should have done it like every week or something, and that would have made a big difference. Just never enough time in the day. This tree is our tree that's the most buggy, so I'll really be able to tell here if we get more apples than we have in the past. I can tell that some of these are looking really nice. It was not that hard to put these bags on. We just came out. They just have a drawstring. You just put it over and pull the drawstring. And we'd come out and do like 20 a night or each a night. And then, anyway, so we'll see how that makes a difference. And this tree really has some nice apples on it, so I'm excited about that. A lot of damage from those Asian beetles. They're so nasty. All right, and then these other apple trees did not produce this summer, so hopefully next summer they will produce. They are all the galas, and hopefully they'll produce next summer. Oh, look at the pretty butterfly.